Lansing's only sports station. The Game, 7:30.
Let's play.
A thrilling end to the hockey season in Plymouth, and more honors for one of the state's most decorated athletes. I'm John Ross, and this is This Week in High School Sports, powered by Michigan Student Aid. What a weekend at USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth as 3 schools captured MHSAA championships on the ice. Let's start with Division II. Byron Center avenged losses in the finals in 2021 and 2023 by knocking off Trenton 6-1 in the championship tilt. Senior forward Jackson Froisland netted a hat trick for the Bulldogs, who also defeated Saginaw Heritage in the semifinals. In Division III, Bloomfield Hills, Cranbrook Kingswood, and East Grand Rapids were knotted at 2 in the third overtime period. Let's hand it off to the NFHS Network's Joe Jason for the call.
Albers to take the draw for East Grand Rapids. Michael Horton for Cranbrook. Horton draws it on back. Rister. Goal! There's the winner! David Schmidt with his second, and Cranbrook, for the 19th time in 21 tries, wins the Division III championship. Heartbreak again for East Grand Rapids. This time in the third overtime, the goal coming at 4:26 of the triple overtime.
David Schmidt's overtime winner gives the Cranes a 3-2 win and their 19th hockey title. In Division I, for the third year in a row, it was Detroit Catholic Central and Brighton, and for the third straight time, DCC is victorious. The Shamrocks win a 5th straight D1 title and 18th overall by winning 2-0. For more on all the action from the ice, please check out MHSAA.com. It's time for Game Balls, when we highlight a trio of standout performances from the past week. First, Farmington United's Leah Hodge. The senior gymnast placed first overall at the Division I Gymnastics Finals, and she helped Farmington to a second-place team finish. Rockford's Haley Hill. She was first in Division II at the Gymnastic Finals and helped Rockford Sparta win a gymnastics team championship. And to Zeeland junior Owen Stevens, he defended his D1 swim titles in both the 200 individual medley and 500 freestyle.
For high school seniors, the matchup of the year isn't on the court. It's actually online. That's right. When you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, you could also be eligible for thousands of dollars in additional money from the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. Now that's a matchup we can all root for. Get started today at michigan.gov/achievement. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship. It's a game changer.
Our weekly Be the Referee feature takes a look at the fine art of officiating with registered official Paige Winnie.
When watching a college or NBA game, the last 2 minutes of the game can seem like it takes forever, especially in recent years where more and more judgment calls made by officials are subject to instant replay. At the high school level, video is not used to make a ruling or confirm or overturn a call made during the course of the contest. The only time video review is used in basketball at the high school level is at the MHSAA semifinal and final games. In these games, video review can be used only to determine if a shot was released in time at the end of the fourth quarter or overtime, or if that shot was a 2-point or 3-point field goal attempt. The MHSAA believes that this very limited use of replay in these games at the very end of the tournament series in boys and girls basketball is the right call.
Thanks, Paige. Now more than ever, we need officials. If you're interested, please go to the MHSAA website now to register. Tyrone Wheatley graduated from Dearborn Heights Robichaud in 1991 after a stellar career in track and field, football, and basketball. And now, Wheatley will be inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame by the National Federation of State High School Associations. Wheatley will be the 10th inductee from Michigan. After high school, he went on to star at the University of Michigan and in the NFL, and is now the head football coach at Wayne State University. But it was on the track that Wheatley performed like no other. As a junior, he took first in 4 events, the first to do that and still one of only 2 to do it. He collected 40 of his team's 49 points that day, leading Robichaud to a Class B title. He followed that up as a senior, winning 3 events. Only an injury kept him from trying for a 4th. Wheatley will be inducted in July at the National Federation's summer meeting in Boston. You've been listening to This Week in High School Sports, powered by Michigan Student Aid, a production of the MHSAA Network. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Ross, and we'll be back next week.
The Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFN.
And a pleasant good Saturday morning to everyone listening out there. This is High School Rewind on the Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFN. We're coming on an hour early today because we got boys basketball state finals today over at the Breslin Center, and you'll hear all four games here on the Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network. Coming up at the top of the next hour, it's the Division IV championship game between Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian and Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart. Terrific, really good semifinals that day, last Thursday night. That's game number one. Game number two, it's the Division I championship game. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, who vanquished Ann Arbor Huron 82-42 in the semifinals yesterday afternoon. They're going to play North Farmington, who beat Zeeland West yesterday by 19 points. Those are the first two games. It'll be 10 o'clock and then about 12:15 or so, or 20 minutes after the first game is over, and they give out all the medals and all the awards and all of that. Then about 4 o'clock or so, Niles Brandywine against Detroit Old Redford. At the Division III championship, and those were terrific semifinal games on Thursday. Niles Brandywine beating McBain in overtime 51-48, and then Detroit Old Redford over Riverview Gabriel Richard 43-41, hitting a buzzer-beating shot to win that game. And that was absolutely wild. And then the last game, Division II, this should be a good one too. About 6:30, 6:45 or so, Warren Lincoln, one of the two teams that beat East Lansing this season, or one of the three teams that is, Warren Lincoln against Grand Rapids Christian, who knocked out Chelsea in the semifinals on last night, 50-41, and that's a team that beat Mr. Basketball, Darrell Brooks, and Grand Rapids Catholic Central on Tuesday night. So that's what we got coming up today. We are and continue to be your home and your trusted source for high school sports coverage, the Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFN. We have two area teams left on the girls' side, and we'll talk about them here in just a little bit. But no boys teams were able to make it to the Breslin Center for the second year in a row, as East Lansing, they were the only team to get to the quarterfinals, and they fell to Ann Arbor Huron at a packed Holt High School back on Tuesday night. Final score was 54-48. Ann Arbor Huron was leading at halftime 29-25 and led 40-34 at the end of the third quarter. But East Lansing made a run, actually took the lead for a short period of time. This was kind of a wild affair because, A, the gym was packed, and then B, just when Cam Hudson, East Lansing star junior forward, was getting ready to shoot free throws, the fire alarm goes off. Somebody pulled the fire alarm. And it took about 10 minutes or so to find out which alarm was pulled and to deactivate it and get on with the rest of the game. Eric Doc Love was with me. We were watching the game, and it looked to both of us that the delay seemed to help Ann Arbor Huron. There were a couple of guys on Huron's squad that looked really, really tired, including Huron's best player, Makari Moore, who ended up with 24 points on the night. He was really, really good, and it really seemed that that delay really helped them. And then we got down to the final minute and a half, and they were able to execute. They made their free throws and were able to finish the game, whereas East Lansing did not. In that quarterfinal game, Makari Moore had 24 points. He was the only player in double figures for Huron. East Lansing had, no surprise, Cam Hudson, 16 points, 8 rebounds. KJ Torbert, 13 points, 4 rebounds. He had a block shot. Oh, by the way, Hudson had a couple of blocks as well. Huron out-rebounded East Lansing 36-25 in that game. East Lansing will be disappointed again not making it to the Breslin Center for the second year in a row when they got to the quarterfinals. But 24-3 is nothing to sneeze at. And the three teams that they did lose to made it to the semifinals at the Breslin Center. And again, they'll have a lot of players back coming back next year. That was the boys' story. On the girls' side, well, a lot more fortunate. We have two teams still alive. It is Fowler on the girls' side. That's really not a shock. the way it's gone for them in recent years, if they can get past Portland St. Patrick in the division, in the district championship, they'll be able to make it to the quarterfinals at least. Turned my mic off, had to sneeze there. Once they got back to once they got into the regional phase of the tournament, it was just smooth sailing for them. Fowler absolutely breezed through the regional tournament this year, which they hosted at Fowler High School, and they're in the quarterfinals again. Fowler beat Gobles in the regional championship, 72-38. It's Fowler's fifth straight trip to the quarterfinals, fifth straight regional title. Had three players in double figures with Brooke Weber, Katie Spicer, and Grace O'Hare. Weber with 15 points, Katie Spicer with 14, and O'Hare with 11 points. And they're going to play, ironically, at Gobles High School, the team they just beat in the regionals. Well, they're going to go down to Gobles High School and play Mendon in the quarterfinals. That's coming up on Tuesday. As for the other team that made it to the quarterfinals, it's a surprise to a lot of people. A lot of people figured maybe East Lansing, maybe DeWitt. Well, no, it's Holt once again. And it's a surprise because Holt lost one of the best players in the history of the school last year in Janae Tyler. One of their all-time leading scorers, if not the all-time leading scorer. And they finished tied for second in the CAAC Blue, behind DeWitt. Lost twice to DeWitt this season. But it seemed like that the postseason tournament energized them. They crushed East Lansing in their district opener and then pulled a mild upset, beating state-ranked Jackson Northwest in the district championship. And then when they got to the regionals, Rima Dozier, 8 of her 16 points in the regional semifinal against DeWitt. And they were able to win that one 40-32. Yeah, Dozier, 16 points in that game. And Dozier hit the go-ahead three with 3.5 minutes to go to break a 32-32 tie, finishing that game with an 8-0 run to move on to the championship game. And, injuries were a part of the deal, and Holt lost a player, Allie Metzger, due to injury in the regional tournament. We're going to talk to Edwin Jones, the first-year head coach of Holt High School, find out the status of Metzger coming up. But I mentioned that because one of DeWitt's best players, Madison Ewell, tore the ACL in her knee in the third quarter of that game against Holt, and that's certainly a factor. She's one of DeWitt's best players, and injuries were part of the deal. And Holt was able to take the lead and finish the game, like I said, on an 8-0 run to win the game. But we wish the best to Madison Ewell. Thankfully for her, she's got another year of eligibility left. So her and Tara Kearns will terrorize, for lack of a better term, and I mean that in a positive way, other backcourts in the mid-Michigan area, if not statewide, for one more year. What terrific guards they are. But I tell you what, this Holt squad, I've watched them in this state tournament, and very impressive so far. Rima Dozier has played like an all-state performer in this state tournament. And that was just in the regional semifinals. In the regional final, they beat Portage Central 50-39 in the final back on Wednesday. And they used a senior, Presley Pazitka, and Olivia Gadsden, who's just a freshman. Both of them had 11 points in Holt's victory over Portage Central. And they will now move on to play Belleville on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock at Jackson Lumen Christi High School for berth in the semifinals at the Breslin Center. Just a tremendous job there by Edwin Jones and his staff at Holt High School. There was one other team that did make it to the regional round, or made it to the regional semifinals, and that was the defending Division II state champion Lansing Catholic. But they weren't as fortunate. They lost to Tecumseh 56-52, a game I was at Charlotte High School. And, man, the story there for Tecumseh, they only played 6 players. We had heard beforehand that they weren't a very deep team, and they only played 6 players, but, man, they produced. Michaela Schlorf, just a sophomore, 25 big points. She had 4 3-pointers on the night, and every time Tecumseh needed a shot, she made it. She just made it. When they needed her to score, she did that. Allie Zajac had 11 points and 9 rebounds and a block as well. Addie Zajac, her sister, 8 points, 4 rebounds, and a block. Chloe Bollinger had 9 points and 4 rebounds for Tecumseh. They out-rebounded Catholic 23-14 and just made the plays in the last minute and a half to win the game because it was close all the way through. Well, for the most part anyway. Catholic had a double-digit lead. They had a 10-point lead, I believe, in the first half, but Tecumseh made some shots, like I said, with Michaela Schlorf mainly keeping them in the game. It was tied at the end of, Catholic was ahead by 3 at the half, and it was tied at the end of 3 quarters of play, and then when Tecumseh did get the lead in the fourth quarter, they started going to play and keep away with about 5 minutes to go, and they were able to hang on. They were able to make their free throws at the end of the game. And they were able to win, and congratulations to them. Great run, great 3-year run for Lansing Catholic behind the Richards sisters, behind Gabby Hallowell. Gabby Hallowell had a great year for Catholic this year, but only had 3 points against Tecumseh. That was a factor in the game. The Richards sisters were excellent. Anna Richards, 17 points. Leah Richards, 14 points and 4 rebounds. Tessa Rowe as well. She had 7 points. Morgan Wilcox, 9 points and 5 rebounds. So Catholic season ends at the regional phase, and they will. That state championship team last year, just great memories of that team getting winning the whole thing. They'll be disappointed, but hey, these things happen. It happens. Teams that win state titles lose earlier in the state tournament the following year than they would like. One of the teams that's still alive are the Holt Lady Rams, and we'll talk more about them coming up on the other side of this break, because the first-year head coach for the Holt Lady Rams, Edwin Jones, is joining me on High School Rewind after this timeout on the game 730 AM WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network.
WVFN.
Welcome back to High School Rewind here on the game 730 AM WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network, brought to you by Jeff and Chris Metz and Dowding Industries and by the Lansing Sports Commission. By the way, the Lansing Sports Commission, no matter the sport, the Lansing Sports Commission can make your next event your best event. Plan on something greater. Find out more at lansingsports.org. And by Jeff and Chris Metz, Dowding Industries. Always interested in individuals that have the drive and desire to be successful in work and in life. Check them out at dowdingindustries.com. You may find a successful future here. Well, there's a couple of teams in the mid-Michigan area that have successful futures, if you want to say, immediate futures coming up in the next week. Girls basketball quarterfinals coming up on Tuesday. Fowler is playing Mendon at Gobles High School in Division 4, but Holt in Division 1's playing at Jackson Lumen Christi High School against highly ranked Belleville, and Holt's first-year head coach, Edwin Jones, is joining me now here on High School Rewind. Coach, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Well, Coach, this has been just a terrific. This has been just a terrific run in this. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I heard some back feed there. Coach, this tournament run has just been sensational. It has been, and I'm hearing some back feed here. Coach?
Oh, yeah. Let me move rooms.
Yeah, I'm hearing myself. I'm hearing some reverb here. Hey, this is live radio, folks.
Hey, this is live. All right, is that better?
Well, let's see here. Yeah, there we go. Now it's gone here. But this postseason tournament has just been sensational. I was at your game against East Lansing back at Holt High School in the district phase of the tournament, and that was a stunning score. It was 52-25, and you only allowed 6 points in the first half to outstanding East Lansing squad, and that seemed to just jumpstart this run.
That was the Catholic Central was the game when we lost at the overtime that we really, the girls really started buying in, believing that we could make a tournament run.
Okay.
The East Lansing game, when we held them to 6 points in the first half, that's when we realized that if we're going to make a run in this tournament, it's going to have to be on the defensive end. So they bought in defensively to what we've been trying to do, and I think it's been showing throughout the tournament. I don't think we've given up more than 39 points so far throughout the tournament.
And you rode that to a district championship against ranked Jackson Northwest. And that was a bit of a surprise too. And talk about that game.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I got to tell you though before I tell you about that. It's not Rima, it's Rama.
Rama?
The only reason I want to tell you that, because for the first month of the season, every time I said her name, she rolled her eyes at me. So it looks like Rima with the E, but it's Rama.
Rama. Okay.
Yes. That Northwest game, we really locked in on video, and we knew they had some outstanding players. But we also knew that if we could contain the young point guard, that would give us an opportunity in that particular game. So once again, defensively, the girls have bought in. They're starting to understand, the expectations and the rotations on the defensive end, and that's carried us a long way.
It certainly has, and you rode that to a district championship that some people didn't really think that you would get, but on to the regionals at Mason High School, and you lost to DeWitt twice during the regular season, but beat them 40-32, an 8-0 run to finish the game, and Rama Dozier was big time in that game, 16 points in that contest, and you're able to win that one. And then in the regional championship, you beat Portage Central to move on to the quarterfinals. What a great performance. And in that regional final, it wasn't Dozier that was your leading scorer. Presley Pazika, a senior, and a freshman in Olivia Gadsden both had 11 points. Talk about them. And if you can, I understand Allie Metzger, one of your better players, a starter for you, got hurt. What's her status coming up?
Allison, she's been resting the last couple of days, but she'll be ready to go on Tuesday. We definitely need her, coming into the quarterfinal game. We're going to need all hands on deck, so we're playing a really good team. Presley Prazinga has been a defensive player, hustler. Believe it or not, she's the shortest person on our team, and she leads us, in offensive rebounds. She's just a tough, hard-nosed, hard-working kid. Olivia Gadsden, she's a freshman who's been playing big-time minutes for us this year. She defends at a very high level, and if you didn't know it, you would never know she's a freshman. I call her my Joe Dumars. Her expression never changes through the good times, the bad times. She's solid as a rock on both ends of the floor, and I wasn't really surprised. We needed somebody to step up, and all year it's kind of been our theme. There's been different people that have stepped up at different times. Genevieve Nagle doesn't score a lot of points, but she controlled the middle, especially against DeWitt. Claire Tobias is a terrific point guard who doesn't get a lot of credit, but every game she's got 5 rebounds, 4 steals, 4 assists, and 6 points, and she always seems to hit timely three-pointers. So we've had a lot of different people step up during this run, a lot of people that have stepped up at different times. So I think that's what makes us tough to guard. Rama is obviously our leader, but there are other people that can hit the ball in the basket, at different times.
They certainly can. We're talking with Edwin Jones, the first-year head coach of the Holt girls basketball team. Second straight trip to the quarterfinals, a second straight regional championship. And you talked about the game against Lansing Catholic where you lost in overtime. How much does it help playing teams like DeWitt, playing teams like East Lansing, playing teams like Lansing Catholic or teams like Hazlitt in non-conference play? All are outstanding teams. How much does that prepare you for a run like this?
Oh, I think you have to play top quality teams. And I think when you look at our record at 14-8, I think a lot of people were surprised that we made this run. But playing quality teams, sometimes you're not going to necessarily win on the scoreboard, but you're going to win because you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about what you're good at. You're going to learn a lot about what you're not so good at. So I think it's imperative that you play a tough schedule, because when my AD hired me, the one thing he told me, he said, hey, you got 22 preseason games, and then your season starts in March. So we've kind of taken that philosophy. As a new coach, I had to figure out what we were good at, what we weren't good at. So the whole season was basically an experiment. I feel like now we kind of know what our strengths are, and that's what we've been doing as far as making this tournament run. We've kind of figured out who we are and, what our identity is.
Speaking with Edwin Jones, the Holt girls basketball first-year head coach. Your first year here, you took over for Tori Brooks, who took Holt to the quarterfinals last year with Janae Tyler and a lot of the players that are on this roster here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Not many people may know who Edwin Jones is.
Oh, man. I've been around the Lansing area for a long time, right out of high school. I kind of learned the game from my mentor, Clyde Ethington, who was the Lansing Eastern coach for years. He took over for Coach Cook after Coach Cook retired for 3 years. So I was a 20-year-old assistant coach way back in the day. I sat with Coach Cook for his last couple years at Eastern. So I kind of learned the game from some legends. The game has changed since I originally started coaching, but it's also stayed the same in a lot of ways. So I started doing coach with Coach Cavazos when I was like 20, 17, 18. I was young. So I've been coaching around the area a long time. I started officiating. I did like 15 years of high school officiating and some college. And then my son started playing sports. So we started a Lansing Spartans travel team, which ended up having Brandon Johns, Foster Lawyer, Tanner Reha, Luke Hyde, Drew Lauder. We had an amazing run. So for about 6 years, I stepped back from coaching and coached my son's AAU team up until they got to high school. So that's kind of been my journey as a coach. I was at East Lansing for the last 2 years as the freshman coach under Coach Mitchell. So that's kind of been my journey, of coaching.
I got you. Yeah, it's everybody's coaching journey is a little bit different, and yours certainly is that way. First year at Holt High School, you're in the quarterfinals. This is, last year, like I said, it was more expected last year that they would get that far, at least get to at least the regional finals, having to play DeWitt. You're able to beat DeWitt in the regionals last year and then in the regionals this year. Your next opponent is at Jackson Lumen Christi High School against state-ranked Belleville. Talk about this Belleville squad and what's it going to take for you to win this game?
Man, a lot of prayer and a lot of luck. No, they're an amazing team. I mean, they're big, they're strong. Their freshman is, already has major Power 5 offers. Depending on where you look, some people have her ranked the number one freshman in the country, the number two. So they're tough. I mean, they're not like any team we've played so far. But it's the thing about March. If you've been around a long time, I mean, we've seen North Carolina State win a NCAA championship. If you've been around long enough, you've seen bigger upsets than this. So we're definitely going as an underdog, but we've been the underdog the last 4 or 5 games. We're going to play our game. We're going to defend like crazy. And one thing I know for sure, at the end of the game, I know for a fact that my girls would have given everything they've gotten. And so, whatever happens at the end happens, but we're not going in there intimidated. We're not going in there scared. We're going in there to win a game. So I feel confident going into the game Tuesday.
Edwin Jones, the first-year head coach for the Holt girls basketball team. They are regional champs again, and they're headed into the quarterfinals against top-ranked Belleville in the quarterfinals on Tuesday night. Coach, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Congratulations on this run. Best of luck on Tuesday. We'll be watching. We'll be listening.
Hey, thanks for the support, and I really appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to talk about these wonderful young ladies I've had an opportunity to coach this year. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Coach Edwin Jones, first-year head coach for Holt High School. We'll take a timeout and come back. Brian Calloway, the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. He's coming up next. This is High School Rewind on the game 730 AM WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network.
Lansing Sports Leader, the game, 730 AM.
Welcome back to High School Rewind on the game 7:30 a.m. WVFN. Joined now by the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. He is Brian Calloway. And Brian, just like last year, no area boys teams in the semifinals at the Breslin Center. East Lansing once again got close. Last year they got blown out by an outstanding Muskegon squad. This time, well, they had a chance to win. It was a very rambunctious atmosphere that was at Holt High School that was stopped for about 10 minutes early in the fourth quarter due to somebody pulling the fire alarm. And you know what? I thought that was a factor in the game. I thought it helped Ann Arbor Huron because it looked like some of those guys were tired. And once the alarm was turned off, it seemed like they got a second wind and they were able to finish the game.
It was interesting because obviously when that fire alarm went off, East Lansing went on a run right away after that fire alarm went off and had taken a lead, took a 3-point lead, but Ann Arbor Huron was obviously able to finish things out down the stretch. Got a big 3 to tie the game. I mean, East Lansing was held to just, I believe, 2 or 3 points there in the final 3 minutes of the game. And, they had a lot of looks and a lot of opportunities. And, it was just one of those days when a lot of those looks that were clean and, shots that they would normally make throughout the season did not go in, and kind of more heartbreak for East Lansing in the quarterfinal round as well, too, because that's the second straight year that, they've got into this stage and lost, and the fourth time that they've been in the quarterfinals since 2018 and not been able to get to the Breslin Center.
8 for 14 from the free throw line. They missed 6 free throws in the second half. That was also a factor as well. But, man, this East Lansing squad, looking at their team next year, they're going to be really strong again. They've got a lot of people coming back, most notably Cam Hudson, who will be a senior next year, B.J. Wyndham, who will be a senior, K.J. Torbert will be a junior, and they got a lot of other guys coming back. They do lose Christian Dunn and Charlie Baker, the muscle underneath, and that'll be a loss, but I got a feeling they're going to be right there again. All right, that was the last boys team that was alive. They were the only teams that got to the quarterfinals. However, on the girls' side, the Lansing area a bit more fortunate. 2 teams got to the quarterfinals, which will be next week at Goebbels High School for Fowler and at Jackson Lumen Christi High School for Holt. You saw Holt in their run in the regionals, and hey, they're a surprise. There's always surprises in the state tournament, and Holt is that way in Division I. We figured they'd be pretty good because they had their guards back, but not as good as last year because Janae Tyler is gone. And yet, here we are. 1 week to go, and Holt is still alive with another regional championship. Remarkable job by head coach Edwin Jones, and those players that a lot of people, myself included, didn't think would be this good this season.
Yeah, for them to get to this stage, very impressive, and 19-8 record going into Tuesday's quarterfinal against Belleville. This is a team that, during the regular season didn't really have any of those really big wins. I mean, I saw them against Williamson, and they fell in a tight game at home then. They split with East Lansing, and, that was probably one of their better wins of the regular season, kind of heading into the playoffs. But, they've been able to put together some nice, impressive wins since we got into the postseason. When you look at beating Jackson Northwest in the district final, and that was a team that was ranked in the top 10 in Division I for a majority of the season. And obviously beating DeWitt, which is ranked into the regular season ranked number 4. They beat them in the regional semifinal on Tuesday, so that was another big win for them as well, too. And one of the things that, Coach Edwin Jones has said, throughout the course of this run is about his team's defense and kind of really how that they've, found an identity on that end and been able to really focus in on shutting down teams and limiting what they've been able to do. I mean, in 3 of their 4 state tournament games, they haven't given up more than 35 points, so that's been impressive for them. Rima Dozier, their senior guard, has been impressive during the state tournament run as well, too. So, they just have done a lot of things right, and I think, an overtime loss to Lansing Catholic in the regular season, that's one of the things that Coach Jones kind of points to is being a big moment for this group and letting them know the things that they're capable of doing from a defensive standpoint. Yeah,
Rima Dozier's been sensational in this state tournament, as has a young freshman, Olivia Gadsden, who's played an awful lot this season. She had 11 points in their regional championship win over Portage Central. She's looks like she could be part of the future of this Holt program. And I understand what Allie Metzger, one of their better players, she got injured in the regional final. Is that right?
Yeah, she got hurt in the regional final, so they needed some players to step up, and obviously Olivia Gadsden was one of those players. Presley Fitzeka also stepped up for them, but one of the things Coach Jones said about Olivia, she's the future of the program, and so obviously, for her to step up, hit some big free throws down the stretch. She hit a big three-pointer in the fourth quarter, and that went over Portage Central as well too. Those are all big moments for a freshman to step up and make plays like that, and obviously she's going to be a player to watch in the future. With obviously Holt losing a number of those guards, when you look at Claire Tobias and Rima Dozier being among the players that are going to be lost to graduation.
Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com, joining us here on High School Rewind. Holt was able to beat DeWitt in the regional semifinals, but unfortunately, one of DeWitt's best players, Madison Ewell, she got hurt in the third quarter of that game. We weren't sure how severe it was. Well, it's pretty severe. She tore the anterior cruciate ligament in her knee in the third quarter of that game on Monday night. DeWitt was ahead in that game, and this comes just over a year after she tore the other ACL in her other knee in a game last April, her first AAU game after her sophomore season at DeWitt was done with. It's just so tough to hear about injuries like this, but these kind of things happen, and thankfully for Maddie, her and her teammate Tara Kearns have one more year of eligibility left at DeWitt High School, and DeWitt's going to be good again. You know that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, it's definitely a tough break, especially for DeWitt in that game. It was a tight game, at the time when she got hurt. And obviously they were a team that was the CAAC Blue regular season champion and trying to pick up a third win over Holt. But, obviously her going down is just such a big loss for that DeWitt team because she usually is she's the top defender on that team, so she's usually guarding the other team's best offensive player. And just, the ball's in her hands a lot. I mean, she's running the show as a point guard, and, she's just so important to that DeWitt team. So, losing a player of her caliber is just a tough break for that team. And, obviously with, just a unfortunate situation for her to tear her other ACL after coming off of, the ACL tear from last summer.
Brian, another team that was successful, we've talked about Holt. They're in the quarterfinals against Belleville on Tuesday. Fowler makes it back to the quarterfinals for the fifth year in a row. Dating back to 2019, they crushed Gobles 72-38. They breezed through that regional. They really had no trouble there, hosting their own regional at Fowler High School. Brooke Weber, Katie Spicer, Grace O'Hare were all in double figures scoring. Their toughest game, and it shouldn't be a shock, was against Portland St. Patrick in the district final a little over a week ago. This Fowler squad under Coach Nathan George, they just keep rolling on. They're a great program. Losing to Riley sisters, two of the best players ever in the history of the school, and here they are in the quarterfinals again.
No, really, yeah, just losing all five starters as well, too, and still finding a way to get back to this point as well, too. I mean, just an impressive job that he's done with that program, considering the turnover that they had after making it to the state semifinals last year, and to be playing in the final week of the girls' season once again. Hats off to what he's been able to do. I mean, it's just almost one of those things that's come to be expected, for that program, just based on the track record that we've seen. 4 straight seasons, and that they've been to this stage. And obviously, the COVID season, the year that the tournament was stopped by COVID, they were obviously still alive as well, too. So, I mean, this program just keeps finding ways. I mean, they've had the other players that were kind of waiting in the wings and kind of watching from the bench and not playing as much significant roles last year. I mean, those players have really stepped up to, help Fowler to, do what it's doing once again and have an opportunity to get back to the Final Four at the Breslin Center.
And finally, there will be a team out of the Lansing area that will not have a chance to repeat as state champions. That is Lansing Catholic. They were beaten in a tight game by Tecumseh 56-52 at Charlotte High School. I was at this one, and it would just, came down to the final minute and a half, and Tecumseh made the plays, and Catholic didn't. While disappointing that Catholic did not get out of the regional this year. Still, their legacy's been tremendous the last 3 years. A state championship this year, or last year, rather. And, some of the best players in the history of the school, the Richards sisters, just terrific for most of their careers. But just came up a little bit short to a Tecumseh squad that was not very deep. But, man, the 6 players that they played were outstanding. Michaela Schlorf, a sophomore for them, 25 big points for them. Catholic just couldn't stop her.
Yeah, and Tecumseh's a very good team, and they've had a lot of success this season. Obviously, to be a team to get to this point of the season. But, Lansing Catholic, you talked about the legacy of this group, and obviously I saw some of Casey Reed's remarks after the game and, arguing that, the most, kind of impactful group that's come through the program is, so to speak. I mean, you have a group that had a large senior class, and that senior class was very vital in helping them to really, get Lansing Catholic basketball back on the map. When you look at 3 district titles over a 4-year span, winning a state championship last year in the fashion that they did, and Anna Richards, the 1,000-point scorer in her career. Gabby Hallowell was another factor for them as well too. And there was just a number of those seniors that are also going to be going on to continue their basketball careers in college as well too. So just quite the run that this program has had under that group with Coach Casey Reed leading the way.
But it will be a rebuilding year for Lansing Catholic coming up next year. Your thoughts on today's championship games before I let you go? Some exciting ones on Thursday. Not quite as exciting yesterday, but so impressed with Orchard Lake St. Mary's in Division I, and so impressed with Warren Lincoln in Division II. 2 of the teams that beat East Lansing this season on the boys' side. Just your general thoughts on the finals coming up today.
Yeah, and you mentioned Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I mean, the way that they dominated Ann Arbor Huron yesterday, it was just impressive. And Trey McKinney, top players in the state. He's a very special talent as well too. And you mentioned Warren Lincoln, and obviously, I mean, those are 2 teams right there that play very tough schedules and are very well prepared for moments like this. And then you saw Thursday, the buzzer beater 3 in the corner from Detroit Holt Redford,
right?
To punch its ticket. I mean, that was a pretty exciting moment as well too to happen at the state finals, and I'll actually be covering that game today against Niles Brandywine because I'm filling in for South Bend. So I'll be checking out the Division III final, and and Niles Brandywine's had a very strong season as well too over there in Southwest Michigan as well too. So yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting day of basketball at the state finals, and obviously seeing talents like Trey McKinney play and a very strong team like Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and they're taking on North Farmington in what could be a decent Division I final. Warren Lincoln, obviously, as a team that has had a very, very strong season, and they had some moments, some hiccups throughout the regular season, but it is to be expected when you play a schedule as tough as they play.
Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. Brian, thanks so much. We'll talk to you same time next week.
Hey, sounds good, Brock. Thanks for having me.
Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal. We got to get out of here. Coverage of the MHSAA Boys Basketball Championships are coming up next. First up, the Division IV championship game between Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian and Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart. We'll head to that coming up after this break. This has been High School Rewind here on the Game 730 AM WVFN and the Lansing Sports Network, brought to you by Jeff and Chris Metz and Dowding Industries, as well as Megan Zemer and her great staff at the Lansing Sports Commission. We'll talk to you next week, 9 to 10 a.m. for another edition of High School Rewind. Enjoy the state finals, everyone.